literally being like, I need to become a different person. I want to become a different person.
Their brain will create a scenario in which they survive that incident. This is a quantum world, and you have quantum immortality on your side.
And then I was sucked away, but it was this understanding and this awareness that he's grieving me in another timeline.
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm pretty sure I died in 2016.
We've talked about Mandela effects. We've talked about glitches in the matrix. But this topic today really scares me, guys. So I actually have never seen any of these videos. I haven't even researched any of these videos because I was too scared. So we're going to watch them together. And the topic we're getting into today is quantum immortality. And don't worry, if you don't know what it is, you will by the end of this video. I'm Unique D, and I am so happy you are here with me. We are about to dive in, but before we do, myself and the algorithm would love if you would watch the video from start to finish. And if you enjoy, leave a like. And then if you get to the end and say, hey, I think I like it here, may want to come back and hang out again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get right into it. Now, one thing I always have is my Rise coffee. And I just finished up a video about Walmart, one of Cartman's favorite places. So Cartman's hanging out with us today. Let's get right into these quantum immortality videos.
I'm pretty sure I figured out last night at 4 o'clock in the morning the time around when I actually died in another life and shifted to this dimension. It sounds insane, but there's a theory called quantum immortality. In this time that what I'm about to tell you happened, I had no idea about this, mind you. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy with idiopathic hypersomnia back in 2019. The reason I got diagnosed was because I have insane sleep paralysis issues, okay? Or had. I had it down to a science. I knew exactly what it is. Like every time I would go into this sleep paralysis state, and I would figure out a way to get myself out of it. Then I had this one, and this was the last one that I ever had, and this happened in 2023. Random. Don't know why I stopped. Nothing has changed. I had a dream, in this sleep paralysis state, that I was laying down as if I were dead in my bed, like in a casket on my bed. My fiance is next to me, and my family is lined up outside my door to come see me. I'm thinking to myself, hello, I'm still here. Like I'm frantic in my brain trying to wake myself up, but my body is stiff as a board because I'm paralyzed. I remember my aunt going over to my lizard's cage, saying something to my lizard, and then coming up to me, making a joke with my fiance, and then leaving. I woke up crying, and I don't wake up crying. My fiance woke me up, and I was freaking out, and I've never woken up crying. Okay, so I don't know why, but I had this like crazy intense feeling that something happened. Went back to sleep, and I'm not sure if it was the same night or the next night, but I remember going back to sleep and having a lucid dream. And no matter what I did throughout my entire life growing up, I tried to lucid dream, and I was never successful at it. To this day, I have the Monroe Institute app on my phone, and I haven't been able to do it again. The lucid dream was so weird to me because I remember laying on my back, feeling myself rising up out of my body, but not realizing I'm out of my body, floating in the air, kind of looking around like, what the heck? And I remember looking at my hands, and my hands were like a grid almost. Like it was so weird. Like my hands, I could see the outline of my fingers, but my skin, like my color, it was gone, and it was just like a grid. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look back at my body, and I start freaking out instantly. And I'm like, I can't die. My kids. Instantly sucked into my body. And when I say sucked, I mean quite literally. I felt like I was being sucked in by a giant vacuum, and I heard the whoosh, and I felt the wind, and I felt the pull, and then I woke up, and I was like, what the heck just happened? Shortly after that, my lizard died. No reason why. She just randomly stopped eating, just died. She was young too. She was only like a year, maybe 2 years old. Since then, I've always said that something felt like it shifted. And yes, I will say that something felt like it shifted in 2020. I'm not negating that. But it felt like for me personally, it was a little bit different around 2023. And I never pinpointed it because I never knew about quantum immortality. If you don't know what quantum immortality is, it's the theory that when you die in one timeline, your consciousness can't accept that. So it jumps to another timeline and you resume living as if that never happened. Now, I have questions on it too. It's not something that I'm sitting here saying like I firmly believe it, but after thinking about this last night, it makes sense. Because ever since then, I have not had any sleep paralysis issues at all. I haven't lucid dreamed. I still have narcolepsy. I still have it. It's not as bad as it was before. I have been able to be off of my medication and not have sleep attacks during the day. Yes, I still fall asleep within a minute, but it's not as bad as it used to be where I would be falling asleep during traffic. The craziest thing to me about all of this is that I was talking with my mom and she was showing me old pictures of the house that we used to live in. I didn't recognize it at all. At all. At all. To the point where my mom was like, well, maybe you quantum shifted or something like that. Like, jokingly. And I didn't think about it until 5 o'clock this morning. And I'm like, wait a minute. That would make sense because I can't remember nothing anymore. Nothing.
When I first ever in life started truly meditating, I was able to have lucid dreams. And I had a couple, and they weren't, I won't say they were meaningful, or I wouldn't say they were like anything came to me that I can recall. But I was able to lucid dream, and I was so excited about it that I wanted to share it. You know, I wanted to share it with my husband. I wanted to share it with the people that I knew and say, hey, try this, listen to this frequency and do this and do that. And then you'll be able to have those amazing lucid dreams too. But it's one of those things that you have to like reach on your own. It was a crazy experience. But as far as her story goes, I think the thing that hit me the most was her saying that she cannot recall her childhood home. That makes this seem a little bit more real.
I believed in quantum immortality, but now having experienced what I experienced this morning, I 100% believe in quantum immortality at this point. If you don't believe in quantum immortality, it just means that if you died in this, universe, you just live in another one. I think I experienced that this morning. Yeah. So I got off the bus and I saw on the other side of the street the bus that I needed to get. It was at the stoplight. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get there. So I'm a millennial. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to look left, right, and then left, and then right again. If it's a major street, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. The light is red. I have my running shoes on, and let me tell you this, okay? Yesterday I was reading the Kybalion, and I was reading about cause and effect. This morning, something told my spirit, wear your running shoes. These, okay? These are my Asics Gel X, right? I have another pair at home that it's slightly uncomfortable. I can't really run in it as well as I can in these, obviously, because these are literally running shoes. Those shoes are more leisure, so I couldn't run in them. Something told me in my spirit, wear my running shoes. These running shoes, they're really springy, they get you really propelled forward, right? The light is fucking red, okay? I got my running shoes on, I tighten on my backpack, and I'm running, right? Usain Bolton that bitch, okay? Not too much now, because I still got, the postpartum ankles, so it's still kind of weak, okay? The light, I know the light is red. I know the light is red because I know I'm not stupid enough to run across the street when the light is green. I'm a millennial. I got 2 babies at home.
Yeah, I don't
Bitch,
play about crossing no street.
I'm very aware of my surroundings, okay? This random white car comes out of nowhere to my right. And I'm not entirely sure what happened in that moment. But as I'm thinking back to it now, I really can remember counting the steps to the point of when I saw the vehicle and something in my spirit stopped me. Because I was like, oh, I think I can make it. No. Stop. And I did. In a different universe, my hubris could have gotten the best of me and I wouldn't have been at work. They would have called my man right now, talking about I'm in a hospital, broken a leg or some shit like that, thinking that I can run across that street. I know for a fact, right in that moment, I split into 2 persons right then. The surviving person, the one that's alive right now, and that other person who's either injured or has, I don't know. But I believe in quantum immortality right now. I believe that shit. Because, and it's strange too. In that moment, you would assume that my heart would be racing. And it wasn't. I was so sure of this feeling to tell me to stop. I did. And the car just swerved around me. It's crazy. Because I feel hopeful. I'm more aware. I'm more alert. Man, the sun feel good. I'm grateful. That's what it is.
The only person who truly knows our spirit is us. And for her to say she felt her spirit split in two, that is an interesting description. Maybe that you can only experience if you've experienced quantum immortality. Not saying that I don't believe it, not saying that I do believe it. I would be interested in hearing some more stories, but I do think that the idea of it ties into a lot of other concepts. That makes me think about the idea of our future selves going back to warn our current selves. When she said that she got her spirit kind of told her to stop, that was probably the version of herself that made it, that said, hey, the only way I can get you to where I need to get you is if you stop right now before this car hits you. So this version of you needs to stop. That's so interesting how a lot of these theories and ideas kind of tie together. Even the Mandela effects, if they can jump realities and change ever so slightly, but be the same enough to be recognizable, then who's to say our entire beings can't do the same thing?
I'm sharing this experience because I want to know if anybody else has experienced the same thing. It's not going to look exactly the same, but you'll get the picture. In Christmas 2020, or a little before that, I woke up with a bruise on my chest to my sternum, like a foot deep or a foot down, and it was massive, okay? I didn't know how it came. I was in a domestic violence abuse relationship at the time, and I thought that maybe she kicked me in the chest, stomped on my chest, something, right? After that, I woke up and I was terrified of getting on an airplane to go to detox. Like, I thought my heart was going to explode. Terrified, crying, didn't want to get on the plane. My brother had to fly with me to Charlotte in order for me to fly down to Florida because I didn't trust that my heart wouldn't explode, okay? That's a side note. After that, I kept seeing defibrillators, heart defibrillators, over and over, and something was like triggering in my brain. But at the time, I was in psychosis because I was doing a lot of different things, a lot of different schmugs. So I was a little all over the place. Now, last night, I woke up, or like I shot my eyes open. I didn't really wake up. I was laying there like meditating, and my eyes shot open, and it was like it all connected in my brain. Like, I fucking died in that timeline. I died in that timeline and woke up in a different timeline that was similar to the one that I was already in because I had to finish my initiation through pain, suffering, all that stuff. And 6 years later, it all comes back to me, okay? I died in that timeline. Don't care, died, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, quantum immortality. And now it all makes fucking sense. Have you ever had any situation like that that has made you question your entire fucking essence, your entire being? Because I don't think I'm the only one that's gone through this.
I got to look at it from all aspects, but her having that fear of defibrillators could be two things. She said she was on a lot of schmugs, and it could have been a situation where she wasn't consciously aware. She had already OD'd and they brought her back, or it could have been exactly what she said.
Quantum immortality, whew, that is a rabbit hole that is not for the faint of heart. You have been warned. Because as somebody who has experienced quantum immortality in my lifetime more times than I can count, I think I can explain it really well myself. Does this happen to everyone? I don't know. My inner voice says no, but my outer voice says I probably need to do a little bit more research on that. And it's a tough one to research. And so many people have this happen and they have no idea at all. 33. Quantum physics has more to do with our reality than most would want to know, assume, or accept. We do. We live in a matrix and a multiverse. There are multiple realms around us. And with that, there are multiple versions of you. And with that, when it comes to quantum immortality, well, let's just say for certain people who are hard to unalive, there are options. And when it comes to imminent unaliving, there are ways out. I'm going to run through just a few of the examples of obvious quantum immortality that I have experienced in my life. I can't go into the long versions of all these stories because there's just no way. When I was in high school, my boyfriend drove a soft top Jeep. We were all at a party for our friend. It was his bachelor party. And as we were drunk, we decided, hey, it's a good idea to go climb E Mountain. Not a good idea. And I hopped in and I sat where I always sat next to my boyfriend on the console. I was itty bitty back then, but it was a soft top Jeep. Our friend was not a small man, and our other friend, Animal, yeah, we were cool. He got in the back. My best friend, Courtney, came running over in the nick of time and said, what do you think you're doing? And snatched me out of there so quick, fast, and in a hurry. And man, am I glad that she did. The next morning, we all got news that they had rolled bad, and Tim had lost his life. Had I been sitting on that console in the middle, I would have not been here today. But had I been on that console in another reality and simply shifted my conscience, we'll explain that, so I wasn't in the wreck in another reality at all. 1. 2. A very bad car accident I was in 2000. I rolled 100 feet end over end, 50 feet side over side, going 80 miles an hour, not wearing my seatbelt. Had I been, they told me I wouldn't have been here today because at some point, right at the end, spoiler or the bumper came through and it would have taken off my noggin. After rolling 50 feet side over side, the police explained to me at that point, I then flew out of the driver's side window face first, a closed window. I flew 45 feet in the air, going 80 miles an hour, and I landed on my head on a rock. I laid there for 2 hours in the Nevada desert in the winter before anybody even found me. And even then, they could not trace the call. When they found me, I'd been tucked under a blanket, but nobody was there at all. That's a whole nother story, and I've told it a few times, my angel on Highway 93. One morning when I woke up in the hospital, a couple of days being there, I was surrounded by doctors, nurses, and police. I live in a very small town. We all know each other, but I was very confused. I didn't know if I'd done something wrong. They, at that point, explained my accident to me, the 50 feet side over side, 100 feet, and flying out face first. Instantly, I was petrified my face had been mangled. They wouldn't give me a mirror, but there was another reason for that. But it was at that point my doctor said, okay, it's my time to step in. He pulled my blanket from off of me. I looked down, waiting to see all of the damage. When he pointed to my ankle, I saw a scratch about that size. He said, Colette, we cannot explain this. That highway is very lethal. People die. There have been 2 other accidents before me, and none of them survived. My accident was far worse than either of those 2. It was a miracle that I was alive. Being tossed through my whole car with glass and metal, going face first through a window. But I asked, why are you pointing this out? He said, Colette, that is the only external injury you have. 333. There is not a mark, a scratch, a bruise, not a laceration on you other than this. And we cannot explain that at all.
I've been seeing some really interesting quantum immortality videos on here, so I thought I would share just one of mine. I have many. So this was back in 1995, and I had 2 small children. My youngest was 1 at the time. My son was 3, and we had just moved to Texas, to Arlington, Texas. My husband took a construction job there. We were new to the area. My husband and I were very young, I think, and we were really naive. Like, we had just packed up our kids and into this beat up old Honda Accord that had recently been stolen, and the ignition chamber had been removed, so we were starting it with a screwdriver. The car needed a lot of work, and we just packed up the kids, got a U-Haul, and drove to Texas, overheating the whole way. You know, it was a mess, but we got there, and we were like, yay, we're here. Well, the car was still needing a lot of work, and the alternator light had been coming on, and I kept saying to my husband, is that something that we need to worry about? And he was like, ah. So we had one car between us, and so he was at work at his construction job, and I needed to go pick him up at the end of the day, and I needed to take the freeway, and I don't remember what month it was, but it was like dark early, so I was nervous because this was a completely new area for me. Obviously, we don't have GPS, and so I just kind of looked at the maps beforehand. Anyway, I get on the freeway and staying in the slow lane because I'm kind of nervous, and the alternator light's on, and I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck that is, and suddenly I lose acceleration in the car. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm pushing on the gas and nothing is happening. And it's traffic hour, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock or whatever. And there's cars flying by me. And I'm like, oh my God, the babies are in the back and I can see them in the rear view. And I was like, don't panic, it's okay. And the only thing I could do was like drift over I was in the middle of an on-ramp and the slow lane. So there's like this tiny little wedge of a triangle where cars are coming on, and it wasn't an on-ramp from the from the street. It was an on-ramp from another freeway. So it's a merge and the slow lane. And I am in this wedge, just sitting there like, oh my fucking God, cars whizzing by me. And at first my heart's racing, and I was like, we have no phones. We didn't know what to do. So I just start putting my hand out the window and waving, I'm like, waving, but like, there was nowhere for anyone to stop and help me anyway. I'm stuck in between two whizzing traffic things, and I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw a truck coming straight at us. It wasn't what I wasn't mistaken. It wasn't in the lane next to me. It had swerved, and I was like, this is it. And I turned around and I said to my son, and then this happened in a split second. I was like, pray to God. Like, I was calm. I was like, pray to God. And he screamed, God help. And I said, say please. And we're not religious, so this was kind of weird for me. And then he said, God, please help. And at the very moment that he said that, all of my fear left me. I was like floating. I was completely calm. It's dark. Was sure that this semi truck, was going to hit us. But instead, I look to my left and there is a man, a black man, and that's significant because we were in Texas in 1995. And one of the things that I had noticed when we moved there was how segregated it still really was. In California, it wasn't like that, and at least not to me. My husband is not white, so I didn't feel this really hard segregation in California. So we were noticing that whites and blacks did not commingle, and so I was like, wow, that's he's helping a white woman. That's amazing. Like, and he said, can I help you? And I was worried for his safety because he was like hanging out in traffic, And I said, oh my God, yes. I mean, where are you parked? And he said, I'm in front of you. And I looked and I saw a car directly in front of us. I didn't see it approach, nothing. And he said, can I help you? And I said, I told him what was happening. And I popped the hood and he looked in and he's like, tried to get me to start it. Nothing was happening. And he came back and he said, I can't get your car started. Is there anything else I can do? And I said, yes. Can you please call my phone and leave a message on my answering machine? Because my husband's going to wonder where we are. And if he makes it home and we're not there, at least he'll know that we're stuck on the freeway. And he said, yes, I'll do that for you. And I said, oh my God, thank you so much. And he said, don't worry, it's going to be okay. And he looked me in the eyes and said that. And I still felt this weird calm. And I was so grateful. And I was like, thank you, please be careful. This is so dangerous. He was like, I'll be fine. You'll be fine. And he got in his car. I think. I don't remember seeing him drive away. And so then, I mean, I'm still calm.
Guardians.
I'm just sitting there with the kids.
Guardians.
And I look to my left. I don't know how, but I remember that I saw my husband and in a truck, in his boss's work truck on the other side of the freeway. And I don't know if I actually saw this or if I saw it in my mind's eye. And then I knew he was on his way. And then this was about a second later, I looked in front of me and a tow truck was right in front of me. And another black man approached the car, the tow truck driver, and said, hello, ma'am, need a tow? And I was like, yes, but I don't have any money. I don't know. How can I pay you? He said, it's free. Don't worry about it. And about that time, as he was like moving to hitch us up, and again, I didn't think that we had any space for this to happen in the little wedge that we were parked in. I looked in my rear view and my husband's boss's work truck is parked behind us. So his boss just drops him off. Like, here you go. Here's your family stuck in the middle of the fucking freeway. And the tow truck driver has us all get into the cab of his tow truck, hitches up our car. We're fucking flat broke, right? We have no money, but we're like, please, we'll give you our next paycheck. And he was like, no, absolutely not. But he hitches up the car, drives us all the way to our apartment, refused to take any money or even our information. And I know, and I have always known that was divine intervention, and that my kids and I actually, that night, I just know it.
All of them said the same thing. They kind of were in a calm state. They had let go. There was no fear in those moments. And honestly, I think that's how a lot of them knew that something must have happened, because our first reaction is to, probably tense up, tighten up, get terrified. But they said in those moments, they were calm. like something divine had stepped in and just said, it's okay. And she said, looking back, she knows something happened that day, but how do you explain that calm, that peace, and then having everything aligned to where someone was there to help you and someone was there to tow you and things that with the way things were going, you wouldn't have been able to afford. It wouldn't have made sense for them to be there. But it happened and it happened to your benefit. They're still good out there. You just have to I feel like you just have to be aligned with those energies in the universe.
This is about quantum immortality and my real life experience with it, in a way. So I'm going to try to make it brief, but it's so hard to make things brief, especially when it has to do with this kind of stuff. I've been working with death since I was 5 years old, communicating with spirits. I'm like in and out of the death realm. I've been told I'm a psychopomp by healers and spirit beings in both realms. I still don't know what happens after we die. I have no idea. I just know I work with these spirits, these beings, and everything. My dad died in August. He finally came to me in the dream realm 2 months ago, and he was healthy. He was very healthy. He always, here in this timeline, he had to carry 2 pumps on each side, and it went into his heart, the left ventricular arterial device, at all times because it was connected to him. And in the place where him and I met, he was healthy. It's the first thing I noticed, and it's very brief. It's like him and I are so connected that it's like they keep us apart because he has things that we won't leave each other, basically. So a couple nights ago in the early morning, it's always when it happens, and that sacred in between, before the sun comes up and before it's not dark but it's not light. That's where the magic always happens. He comes. It's brief. He's healthy. I'm like, God, you're so healthy. I run to him and I'm like, don't worry, I'm not going to touch him, because they freak out. And I just look at him real fast and I say, Daddy, are you healthy? Or are you okay? And he says, yeah, I'm okay. He looks at me and he says, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And then I'm sucked out. Right before I get like pulled back, which is what they do to me and him, we had this awareness this exchange of understanding and awareness that happened. And in that moment, we saw each other in different timelines. My dad was in another timeline, healthy, thriving, and I died in that timeline. And he was coming into that dream place, that realm, that sacred in between, to find comfort in his grief, to see me, like missing me so bad. And in this timeline, I don't have my dad, and I'm broken in every way possible, and I miss him so much. And we were meeting in this place. I'm coming from this timeline where I don't have him anymore, and he's coming from his timeline where he doesn't have me anymore. And our grief is so profound that we're meeting in this place. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. And then I was sucked away, but it was this understanding and this awareness that he's grieving me in another timeline, and he's finding me in this place, this other realm, this astral realm, for comfort, and I'm doing the same. And that's where I'm like, oh my God, it's quantum immortality.
Wow, that just put a strange idea in my head that I wonder if we subconsciously sacrifice things for the people that we love, because she mentioned that in her timeline her father wasn't healthy. He had to carry around the 2 pumps for his heart. Did he subconsciously make a sacrifice to say that if my daughter can live out a full, healthy life, I would be willing to sacrifice something of myself? Because she said where she met him at, he was fine. Or do we coexist with different realities of ourselves? Like maybe we see people around us as healthy when in their reality they're suffering, or vice versa. We see them as suffering where in their reality they're healthy. That was an interesting story, but I think what really got me about that one was her saying that there was that understanding that we just want to make sure that everything is okay.
This story is wild. This girl posted this and said, I'm convinced we died 3 years ago. So right off the get-go, she said, for reference, we don't drink or do drugs. We are 22 now, but when we were 19, we went on a trip to a rural coastal area in Greece. We've discussed this specific day a million times over the last 3 years, and our memories of it are identical to the smallest detail. Yet now everything seems to insist it happened differently. And then she goes into the wildest story of what seems like quantum immortality. So she talks about this trip and how her and her friend one day decided to go eat at this like local restaurant. It was a little bit out of the ways. They go into this restaurant to eat. There's not a whole lot of people there. They said like maybe 2 sets of couples and a group of men who immediately turned to look at them as they walked in. Now, they didn't think much of it. I mean, they're young ladies, they're 19, and they're dressed up. Specifically, her friend was dressed in a long pink skirt and a white top with platforms. Remember that because it's very important for later on in the story. So she said as they ate their lunch, the guys were obviously turning and looking at them and talking and turning and looking at them. Not even kind of flirty, just seems like they were being watched. They then go outside and it was really, really pretty. And they said that they wanted to take a picture by the rocks. Now it's right by the beach. And they decided not to because the guys had now moved out of the restaurant and was outside with them. Now, not only looking at them, but they had their phones on. It looked like they were taking pictures and video of them. So they decided, you know what, it's time to go back to the hotel. So they walked across the street and they were walking on the rocks, which is just running parallel to the rural road. Now, as they're walking, they notice the guys are now in the car and slowly following them from behind. So eventually, the rock path ends and there's like a little retaining wall, and then the rest of the path is covered by a lot of trees. So the girls decided they're not going to do that. They're just going to go ahead and walk on the water. The water is like knee deep and they're still wearing their shoes. Her friend is still wearing her platforms because it's very rocky and they didn't want to walk on the rocks. And so she is videotaping this entire thing because she said that she was vlogging the entire trip. Fast forward, she's 22 now. She's putting together a video for her best friend for her birthday to kind of show their adventures. And as they're looking through this specific video, she noticed everything changed. Now, remember, she was vlogging. So she was vlogging and taking videos of these men on that day. But when she turned and looked at the video, not only were there no videos of the men, there is not even a mention of them on the video. And they were saying they were talking about the men following them on the video. And it started showing a lot of people on the beach. And they said there was nobody on the beach really. And they started seeing like women in bikinis walking past them. And they're just walking through knee-deep water, dressed in completely different clothes. Remember, her friend had that long pink skirt, no longer. And it just looked like they were randomly walking into the water. No discussion about the men that were following them and that they were going to the hotel because they were afraid. They even vlogged about this incident the day after. And yet this video shows none of that happening. They even talked to their friend who's, they said they told him all about what had happened on that incident. And this friend doesn't remember a thing. He's like, I think I would have remembered if you had told me a guys followed you during your trip. So basically, it's just her and her friend. They don't even have video evidence of that moment. Her and her friend have the same exact memories. Obviously, they remembered it because that's a very scary thing to happen, especially when you're on a trip. So they're fully convinced that somehow these guys got them in a parallel universe or unalive. What do you guys think happened to these girls? What do you think happened to the video that they took? Also, have you ever had an experience like this where you were pretty sure you died and somehow you ended up not dying?
That sounded kind of similar to what people say happens with Mandela effects. When something changes in a different timeline, any memory of it erased, whether it's in written form, if it's on video, and not just the digital video, like how Disney goes back and changes the movie, like if it's on VHS or if it's recorded, like it changes.
Okay, so I want to talk about quantum immortality, why I think I died in 2023, a version of me died in 2023 in this car accident that I was in, and how our decisions create timelines. So back in 2023, I was in a car accident. I was sitting at a red light and this woman crossed over 3 barriers and hit me directly in my car door. That's not even the craziest thing about it though. The craziest thing about it was the fact that my boyfriend got into a car accident that same morning, literally less than a few hours before. And I'm convinced that, and I can't say like, oh, I know it wouldn't have happened if I didn't do this or if this didn't happen, because we won't know. There's no way to know. But I'm convinced that because of certain decisions and like odd synchronicities and just weird encounters that took place from the night before his car accident leading up to my car accident, I'm just convinced that like everything had to happen exactly how it happened. Because at the time I was on the journey of literally being like, I need to become a different person. I want to become a different person. I was standing on it. And I didn't realize that what I was asking for required an entirely new identity from me.
Quick pause. We ask for things and we don't consider what it takes to get what we are asking for. If you've ever heard of, and I know this is kind of childish, but Rumpelstiltskin, think about it. I was a big fan of Once Upon a Time, the series, and you'll get what you're asking for. I'll give you exactly what you're asking for, but there will be consequences. You're gonna have to give up something. It's a whole nother rabbit hole. We can go down the Illuminati rabbit hole. So many things for us to explore, but she was aware of the fact that, hey, what I'm asking for is going to require something because I want to be a whole new person. And she had to have that awareness in order for her to realize that this probably led to that new identity. But let's keep going and see what she has to say.
What a lot of us don't understand is that when you actually decide to become a new person, you do not get to control what your reality chooses to recalibrate and reorganize around your new identity. Because when I was like, I want to become a new bitch, the universe said, oh, bet. All this got to go, though, because that's in alignment with your old identity. And so at the time I was experiencing spiritual awakenings. I was experiencing getting some of my biggest manifestations, but I was also losing so much of what was attached to my old identity, right? So the night before my boyfriend's car accident, this was the main thing. This was the catalyst. His charger broke, and it wasn't bent, it wasn't broken, it just stopped working. Just randomly stopped working. And I remember asking him, I'm like, do you want to charge your phone on my side of the bed? And at first he goes, no. And I remember hearing, I was going to say, are you sure? But something in me was like, don't say anything. And we just sat quiet with each other, maybe like 3 seconds, because he was contemplating, I was contemplating. And then he was like, actually, yeah, fuck it, throw it on the charger. And I was like, okay, bet. So I put his phone on the charger, we go to bed. I'll never forget, it's 7:42 in the morning the next morning. His alarm goes off, but I know it's way too early for him to be getting up to go to work. So I snooze the alarm because he doesn't wake up. I snooze the alarm because I know he has multiple alarms set. The phone never went back off. Either it went off and we didn't hear it, or it just never went back off. Either way, he woke up. He was late for work. It's like 9 o'clock at this point. He gets up. He rushes out of bed in like 10 minutes. He gets out, leaves in like 10 minutes, right? So I remember feeling so guilty because I'm like, damn, like I literally snoozed the alarm. Like, this is my fault. And I couldn't fall back asleep. And I remember something telling me to check his location. And so I go to check his location and I see that his dot is like stopped, and it looks like he's stopped as he's getting on the highway. And so I text him, I'm like, hey, you good? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, but you made it on the highway though, right? And he's like, no, I just got into a car accident. Like, what is wrong with you, bro? Like, why didn't you lead with that? Why do I have to pry that out of you? Like, huh? And I was like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, what's up? And he was like, nah, I think I'm good. He had just rear-ended a car getting onto the highway. And so he was like, I'm good. I think I'm good. I think I can drive. I'll be good, but I'll let you know. 10 minutes later, he calls me. He's like, nah, my car's fucked up. I got to get a tow truck. Can you come get me? And I'm like, all right, bet. So we wait on the side of the road for maybe 2 hours for a tow truck. He calls his insurance. His insurance is supposed to be sending a tow truck. This is the first weird encounter that happened on the way to my accident, right? So finally, after about 2 hours, a tow truck pulls up. Mind you, the tow truck is supposed to be free because it's through insurance. He's like, it's going to be this much. We're like, what? Like, what's going on? Why? Nonetheless, he pays it.
That's where she messed up at. If it's free, we need to figure out why you charging me, or we need to call another tow truck that's free under the insurance. But let's see where this story goes.
We get back, I remember this is a decision that I made. I asked him, like, do you want pizza? Like, do you want anything to eat before you go into work? Because there's a pizza spot right outside our crib. He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, bet. So I go, I get the pizza. I come back to the crib, we get a call. It's the tow truck from the insurance company asking us where we at, where you at? And we're like, huh? Like, what's going on right now? And we're like, but we just got a tow truck. And he's like, well, it wasn't me. Like, I don't know who that was. And so we were like, okay, like, I guess, bro, whatever. Weird, right?
A tow truck driver saw them sitting on the side of the road. I mean, this is beside the point of the story, but tow truck driver saw them sitting on the side of the road and was like, oh, I can make some money real quick. Let me tell them I'm the driver they were waiting on, but they just got to pay cash. He cashed out real quick.
Getting in the car, we'll go to take him to work, right? I remember I have hit the address in my GPS. I missed the exit to get onto the highway. And I'll never forget, I'll go to pull into a parking lot to turn around so I could get back on the highway because it's right there. The parking lot is literally right there. I'm going to just turn around, get on the highway. I'll never forget my boyfriend. He goes, nah, you're good. Just keep going straight. It's going to take us out. This way is going to take you out the same way the highway would. And I remember being like, you sure? And he was like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, all right, bet. And the energy of this entire day was so odd. Like, my boyfriend was having financial problems at the time, so it was like, I know that his car being fucked up was just another burden on him. And for some reason, like, I was oddly neutral about everything. I was super calm and I was very positive, and it was like pure positivity. Like, it wasn't no like just being overly positive, like it's okay. Like, it was just, I was in a neutral state, you know. It was very odd. I'll never forget the energy that was like resting within my body as the day continued. And so I remember even I had Andre 3000's new album playing in the car at the time, the Frequency one. And I'll never forget, I remember we pull up, we're 5 minutes away from his restaurant. I'm sitting at the red light. I go to respond to my cousin, and then I go to look up to see if the light's gonna change because I'm the second car in line. I'll never forget, I see something out of my peripheral vision, but my awareness never turns. And I go to look at the light, it's still red. I look down, I go to respond to him, and there's just this, like, if you've ever been in a car accident, you will never forget the crunch of it. Like, the crunch is something that is one of one. It's one of one. I would have paid to see the person behind me's perspective of what the hell it looked like when she hit me. Because to this day, I still don't know how Shamoy hit me. Like, dead ass. I don't know how this bitch from Florida with no insurance hit me, just driving reckless, for real, bro. I don't even know why they didn't arrest her on the scene.
That's
because
a straight
she crossed
hit.
over 3 barriers directly into my car. The door, she slammed into my car door. The only thing on my car that was touched was that door. And mind you, I'm going through spiritual awakening after spiritual awakening at this time. You know, I've been very like open about my journey on social media. Like, if you've been with me, you know that I've been manifesting this. Like, the life I'm living right now, I've been manifesting it. I'm talking about, it's been on my vision board since before I even started. And that's what I was getting. I was beginning to live out my vision board at the time. And so as my reality is like recalibrating, my awareness is recalibrating, my spiritual gifts are heightening. I didn't even know I had the gifts at the time, but I'm getting closer with God, and I'm like, yo, this gotta be a sign, because ain't nothing on my car is touched but this door. This is for me. It's gotta be for me. And I'll never forget, my uncle had passed away maybe a month before, and I'll never forget feeling like, my uncle was a really big dude, and I'll never forget feeling like a bubble over me in that very moment. It was just like a bubble. And then I just remember being like in shock for a second, because the window shattered, but there was no glass on my seat. I wasn't touched. The door stopped right here on me. Like, for real, the door stopped right here on me. And I'll never forget just being in shock, sitting there, because it jerked me to the side, and I'm like processing, like, okay. First of all, my car's fucked up. I know it's done, but what is the odds that my boyfriend got into a car accident the same morning? What's going on? What is going on? And then I'm thinking like, yo, the only reason why I'm here right now, I'm still resting in this state of awareness, is because my awareness did not turn when I seen that car coming. Because if I would have turned when I saw in my peripheral vision, because what I saw was her car. If I would have turned and seen a car coming directly at me, it would have been over with. I would have died for real in this reality. Because my brain would have been like, oh, fuck, it's over. Because I couldn't go anywhere. There was a car next to me, a car in front of me, a car behind me. It was over. And I'm convinced a version of me died in that reality, and this version of my awareness got to live out my mission in this one.
I don't know, but the way that car was hit, yeah, she was blessed in that situation.
This is a quantum world of illusion, folks. None of this stuff is real in the way that you think it is, and that includes death. Death is also a part of the illusion. What you think that you're seeing with your two eyes when you see someone passing away is nothing but ones being dissolved into zeros. But you don't see is that one will once again reemerge from that 0 point. But let me break this down to you a little bit further. One is you. It is your state of being. It is your I am. It is everything that you're holding within your heart vibrationally. 0 is the void, is the point of potential in which all things emerge from. It is the womb of life. When a person passes away, for example, a person's walking down the street and then bam, all of a sudden they get hit by a vehicle, taking them out. What happens is that they're taking their vibration, and they're casting it inside of the void, giving the void instruction in order to recast them back into this world right here. And this happens instantaneously, in a moment, in the flickering of the eye. They will not even perceive their own death because their brain will create a scenario in which they survive that incident. This is a quantum world, and you have quantum immortality on your side.
Quantum Immortality, true story in 30 seconds. You've been planning this trip for a few weeks now. You're so excited to be going to St. Lucia. It's that time of the month, so you made sure to pack your painkillers and headed to the airport. While waiting for the flight, you pop 2 pills. You get on the flight, then you decide to take a quick nap. 4 hours later, or so you thought, you decide to take 2 more pills. All of a sudden, you feel your soul starting to leave your body. You glance over at the time, and you saw that only half an hour had passed. It was at that moment that you realized that you had messed up. At that moment, you make the decision not to die on that plane. So you literally drag yourself, holding each and every chair, while going to the washroom so that you can puke it back out. You get to the washroom in time, and you manage to get it out. But did you make it in time? No. You died, and your soul time traveled to a different timeline, closest to where the incident is happening. And then your spirit guides give you a push right back into your body. And then they erase the memory of your time travel. And this is how quantum immortality happens. I know it's a true story because that person who died was me.
I apologize for my faces in this video, y'all. What did she take? Because when she said painkillers, in my head, I'm thinking a Tylenol, a Advil. I know you can have 4 of those in a day, I think. And she said she took 1, then she took another 2, and her soul left her body. Baby, what type of painkillers did you have on that plane? But yeah, the idea and the theory of quantum immortality, essentially saying that you don't ever fully leave or go anywhere, you just jump into a timeline where your passing never happened. I don't know. I can't say that may not be the case. People are leaving this realm, this timeline, and jumping into realities where they continue to exist. Now, my question with that is, are they completely different? Are you surrounded by the same loved ones? Do they mimic your loved ones, but they're different because in that timeline, things have happened differently, so they're not exactly who you remember? I don't know. We got to get into some more stories, guys, and find out some more about this. This is an interesting topic.
A year ago, I was living in Maine and I died. My husband had left for work to go open the bakery at Hannaford. And I heard something at the door, and I thought my husband must be trying to get back in. And this Indian man was there with this black long jacket and like a boulder hat thing, or a bowler hat, however you call it. And he looked at me with like shocked eyes, like I don't know if he was trying to break in, with thinking that we would be asleep because it was like super, super early. But he was surprised that I was there, but my husband had just left, so I was awake. And then I start running towards the window, but my children are asleep on the bed, and I knew there was nowhere to go, and I just knew that it was over. And then all of a sudden, I woke up in bed there at the same hotel, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I remember what dying felt like. Like, I knew that it was real. So I was like, what is going on? So I messaged my husband. I tell him exactly what happened. I was like, it was the weirdest thing. I still have the messages from when that happened. And then when we were going to leave the hotel, I noticed there was a spot on my children's bed. And so I lift up the sheets, and underneath the mattress protector is a huge stain of blood. Literally, me and my husband had to go out and buy peroxide to take the blood out of the bed, because I didn't want the hotel to think like something occurred, that we did something, or that like I bled on, like if I was like menstruating and bled on there, like I didn't want them to hold me accountable. So we literally cleaned up like a crime scene of our own, mine and my children's own death. But like we're all still alive, and like my children have not said anything about it, but I vividly remember this happening, and that was a year ago. So I really believe in the quantum immortality at this point.
I don't know that my first thought would be to go and clean the blood from the sheets. I just, that part really confuses me. All right, let's get one more in. Let's find a good one.
So I just started going down the rabbit hole of quantum immortality. And I didn't realize that this is something that I actually experienced. I didn't know the actual name for it. So when I was 25 years old in 2019, this was 4 days after my 25th birthday. I'm driving in my car to work. At this point in my life, I feel like it was a little bit of the lowest of the low. Going to work, and I'm driving on I-75. If anyone knows about I-75, there's this theory in Detroit that says that there's a literal portal when people experience things like you are driving in one point and then you end up in a completely different point. So that's kind of like what I thought.
The drive to and from Detroit, I've done plenty of times. I've been on I-75 in Detroit quite a bit. And I will say, when I get into the Detroit area, I always get a weird feeling. I've never experienced that per se, but I-75 is a strange place in Detroit. Everywhere in Detroit is strange.
So I'm driving and it's pouring down rain. I knew at the time that my tires on this car was not that good, but I'm driving like my music is not loud. I'm literally paying attention to the road. Out of nowhere, my car hydroplanes and starts spinning around the whole freeway. Mind you, while I am driving, there are cars right beside me everywhere. People are going to work right now. My car is spinning. I don't know for how long my car was spinning, and I can't even tell you the thoughts that I was just having. I was literally just scared out of my mind, because at this point, I wasn't talking to anyone in my family. Like, everyone was like simply upset with me. And I feel like I was spinning for like 5 minutes. My car is just going like this. And then I immediately hit a median, whatever it's called. I hit my face on a steering wheel. The airbag does not blow. My face is completely bloody. The first person that I call is my mother. And I remember when she answered the phone, she said, I was not about to answer the phone for you. Now, with my accident, understanding quantum immortality is that version of me in 2019 I died. And now this version of me is a completely different consciousness. And this is just like baffling to me because now I went down this quantum immortality rabbit hole, and it literally said the version of the people that's in my life right now, my loved ones, are not the same version of those people back in 2019. And this makes sense to me because of the shift within my family. So remember how I stated how before I had this accident, I was upset with my family and like they were upset with me. And there was like this divide. And it's like my mother, again, is still my mother, but she's a different version of my mother because my mother then was like my best friend. And like after this accident, things just started going haywire for me, if that makes any type of sense. And I remember with this accident, the first person that came to me was a pastor. And remember when I said that it was raining, right? It was pouring down raining. When I got out of my car, it's like the version of me that actually died was the one getting out of that car. It was not raining anymore. People just driving in their cars like nothing even happened. I believe that this man called the ambulance. The ambulance came. I don't even remember getting to the ambulance. I don't even remember getting to the hospital. I just remember waking up. I had a neck brace on and my mom is just right there. I was in the hospital for like 6 hours. I don't remember anything that transpired. But I do know that in 2019, another version of me has passed away. So that was my experience of quantum immortality. I've always been a spiritual person, but I believe that that specific event had to happen to me because it made me want to go deeper into myself and understand. And I feel as though if that event didn't happen, I wouldn't be this consciousness right now.
I'm still torn. We've looked at a lot of stories. I'm still torn on whether or not quantum immortality is different and separate from having a near-death experience to where you're awakened, you're more grateful, you're more alert, and you're looking at life different. We've heard some good stories. As a matter of fact, here's one more. Let's do one more and then we'll wrap it up.
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm pretty sure I died in 2016. Have you heard of quantum immortality? So I remember getting into a very bad car accident where my car flipped over, and then there was nothing but blackness. And then all of a sudden there were all the EMTs and whatever. In this timeline, the Berenstain Bears are the Berenstain Bears, not the Berenstein Bears, because in my timeline, like my teacher told me they were Jewish. Stein. In this timeline, the cornucopia for Fruit of the Looms, it doesn't exist. Yeah. And why the fuck are my Converse symbols on the inside? Because in my timeline, they're not on the inside. Why would they be on the inside? You can't see the logo from the inside. Where they do that at? I want to go home. It doesn't make any sense. Why are they on the inside? Converse means inverse. You can't gaslight me. I won't be gaslit.
Somehow we all ended up in the Berenstain timeline. So I get where she's coming from. She's tying her quantum immortality leap into this timeline where we don't have a cornucopia, which makes no sense to me. But for the most part, I don't know if I'm fully convinced on quantum immortality. We're going to look at it again some more. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your theory on quantum immortality. Have you had stories like this happen? Is it just that I don't know from experience, so I can't say for sure? Maybe I got to look at some more that are more. I mean, I don't need to be convinced because it's for the people who experienced it to be able to say, hey, this is what happened to me. But I just think that the concept of the leap into a different timeline, I don't know if all of these stories fully tell that. I think it may be true in some cases, but I think some of these stories may be more, um, you know, just losing consciousness temporarily, or having an awakening after being that close to death to say, hey, I want to live my life different. I want to look at things different. I want to learn more. The one that probably had me the most convinced, I would say, was the one that has the narcolepsy, where she said she couldn't remember her childhood home. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are on the theory. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Let me know in the comments you're still here. Love you guys. I will see you in the next one.